In a far-off city of ancient Arabia known as Agrabah, where the golden sun kissed the desert sand and lush palm trees adorned the bustling marketplaces, there was a poor but hopeful youth named Aladdin. Despite the hardship of his existence, Aladdin, an orphan boy, carried an irresistible charm and an infectious curiosity. His mother, a humble washerwoman, was his only living family. They shared a simple abode, barely providing them shelter from the relentless sun and the cold desert nights. One sweltering day, under the unforgiving desert sun, a figure appeared on the sandy horizon of Agrabah. A man, enshrouded in a flowing cape of deep black and riding an ebony steed, made his way into the city. This was no ordinary man, for he was a wicked sorcerer, a master of illusion and trickery from a distant and forgotten land. His eyes shone with an unnatural glint, betraying his sinister intentions hidden beneath a facade of charm and civility. His arrival in Agrabah was no accident. He was lured by the legends of a magical artifact believed to possess unimaginable power, the Enchanted Lamp. Hidden away in the treacherous Cave of Wonders, the lamp was said to house a genie of immeasurable magic. Only one deemed the diamond in the rough could retrieve it, and the sorcerer was convinced that Aladdin, the beguiling boy of the streets, was that diamond. Cloaked in rich garbs that sparkled under the Arabian sun, he carried an air of mystery and intrigue. His silver tongue spun tales of distant travels and wondrous enchantments that drew curious onlookers. Yet his primary audience was one, the unsuspecting Aladdin. Choosing an opportune moment, the sorcerer approached Aladdin, introducing himself as the boy's long-lost uncle. He told captivating stories of Aladdin's father, whom he claimed was a brave adventurer and a prosperous man. With a mix of sorrow and nostalgia, he informed Aladdin of his father's dying wish, for his son to rise above his current station, away from the dregs of poverty. Entranced by the sorcerer's eloquence and the promise of a better life, Aladdin fell into his deceptive trap. The sorcerer convinced him to embark on an extraordinary journey, an unusual task as he phrased it, promising him that this was the path to claiming his father's legacy. His tales of grandeur painted dreams of untold riches and a future free from the harsh struggle of street life, a dream too tempting for Aladdin to resist. But behind the promise of a new life, the sorcerer's deceitful eyes gleamed with malevolence. Unbeknownst to Aladdin, the journey would not lead to the wealth and comfort the uncle had promised, but into the heart of the sorcerer's dark plot revolving around the mystical enchanted lamp. The stage was set, the pieces were in motion, and Agrabah was about to witness a tale that would echo through the annals of its history. With the sorcerer's deceit having successfully ensnared both Aladdin and his mother, a new chapter began in the young boy's life. The very next morning, under the guise of a familial expedition, the sorcerer led Aladdin away from the familiar labyrinth of bustling souks and crowded dwellings of Agrabah towards the outskirts of the city. The route they took was unfamiliar, long, and arduous, leading them through a grueling desert landscape that held an eerie silence, broken only by the whispering wind. They journeyed across the endless expanse of the desert, with nothing but the vast dunes for company. The sun blazed overhead, its rays causing mirages to dance teasingly at the edge of Aladdin's vision. Despite the harsh surroundings, the sorcerer rode unflinching, his eyes fixated on an unseen destination. Aladdin, though fatigued, trudged on, his mind filled with the promise of a better life. As the sun began to lower its golden head, they arrived at an isolated, barren stretch of the desert. The sorcerer halted, and his eyes gleamed with an inscrutable light. The air seemed to thrum with anticipation as he dismounted and stood in front of what seemed like an ordinary mound of sand. His hands rose slowly, and he began to chant in a strange, guttural language that echoed eerily around them. The words of the incantation were alien and yet powerful, stirring the very air around them. As the final words left his lips, the ground beneath them shivered, then shook violently. Suddenly, the desert floor trembled and split apart, grains of sand scattering as if scared by some unseen force. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Before them, where nothing had been, the gaping mouth of a hidden cave appeared, the fabled Cave of Wonders. It was as if the desert itself was yielding to the will of the sorcerer, revealing secrets that had been buried in its bosom for centuries. Turning to Aladdin, the sorcerer ordered him to descend into the abyss. His voice held a trembling eagerness as he spun a tale of a simple old lamp that lay within the cave, an alleged family heirloom. The sorcerer's stories of the lamp's sentimental value made it seem like a harmless artifact. Little did Aladdin know, the unassuming object was the very heart of the sorcerer's dark ambition. With a torch to guide him, Aladdin took a deep breath and stepped into the shadowy cavern, unaware of the pivotal role he was about to play in a story that would become a legend. The sand beneath his feet whispered ancient tales, as the Cave of Wonders beckoned him deeper into its enigmatic belly. Stepping over the threshold into the Cave of Wonders, Aladdin was met with a sight that defied belief. What seemed a barren cavern from the outside was, in reality, an intricate labyrinth of winding paths, gleaming jewels, and mystic wonders. An uncanny glow illuminated the cavern, lending an ethereal luminescence to the countless treasures littering the ground. The cave was a paradox, beautiful in its dazzling wealth, yet menacing in its silence. Every stone and gem seemed to hold a secret, a piece of the past wrapped in the sheen of precious metal or the sparkle of a jewel. Yet beneath its splendor, the cave hid perilous traps, ready to unleash their wrath at the slightest provocation. Unaware of the sorcerer's true intentions, Aladdin ventured deeper into the heart of the cave. He was armed not with the deceitful words of the sorcerer, but with his innate courage and an undying spark of wisdom that had been his companions during his years on the streets of Agrabah. The cave tested him at every turn, presenting him with riddles woven in ancient tongues and lethal traps masked behind mesmerizing treasures. Yet Aladdin prevailed, his determination unwavering. His humble upbringing had taught him to see beyond surface illusions, and it was this wisdom that now guided him through the snaking pathways. During his cautious exploration, something unusual caught Aladdin's attention. Nestled between two large sapphires, a humble ring sat, its lack of grandeur making it stand out among the opulence. It was a simple band of silver with an unassuming gem. Intrigued by its simplicity amidst the ostentatious riches, Aladdin picked it up, feeling an inexplicable warmth radiating from the cold metal. Unbeknownst to him, this was a magical ring, an artifact holding powers that would soon prove invaluable. He pocketed the ring, intending to inspect it later. Venturing further into the cave's depths, Aladdin finally stumbled upon his objective. Placed upon an isolated pedestal, bathing in a solitary beam of light that filtered in from somewhere above, was the ancient lamp. It was worn with age, its brass surface tarnished, appearing more like an old relic than the object of the sorcerer's covetous desires. As Aladdin reached out and wrapped his fingers around the lamp, a sense of accomplishment washed over him. He was one step closer to his promised future, completely unaware of how this simple act was about to change his life and the fate of Agrabah forever. Little did he know that he held in his hand an object of immense power, the lamp that housed a being beyond mortal comprehension, a lamp that was about to illuminate his destiny. With the ancient lamp now in his possession, Aladdin retraced his steps through the labyrinthine cavern, his heart heavy with the weight of anticipation. Emerging into the cave's entrance, he called out to the sorcerer, his voice echoing off the cold, hard walls. There was a moment of silence, then came a response that sent a chill down Aladdin's spine. The once kindly voice of his uncle was now a serpent's hiss, cold and menacing. From the shadows, the sorcerer demanded the lamp, his words slicing through the chilly air of the desert night. Aladdin, taken aback by the sudden shift in demeanor, hesitated. He asked for aid to ascend the steep cavern entrance, his hands clutching onto the rocky edges. The sorcerer, however, had no intention of assisting him. The mask of the benevolent uncle slipped completely, revealing the monstrous visage of deceit. His eyes glowed with avarice, fixated solely on the lamp that Aladdin held. In a desperate attempt to preserve his humanity amidst the unfolding betrayal, Aladdin refused to surrender the lamp until he was safely out. His voice, though edged with fear, held a firmness that surprised even him. But this act of defiance was not well received. A rage, wild and fierce, seized the sorcerer. His roar echoed throughout the desert, a sound of raw fury that made even the nocturnal creatures of the desert fall silent. In a fit of rage, the sorcerer, drawing upon his dark magic, sealed the cave. The once open mouth of the cave came crashing down, the ground shaking with the impact. With a heart-wrenching finality, the rocky face sealed shut, leaving Aladdin trapped within the belly of the earth. The silence of the cave was deafening, an absolute quiet that spoke of a desolation far greater than any Aladdin had known before. Alone in the dark, with only the feeble light of his dying torch to keep him company, Aladdin held onto the lamp tighter. He was left to face the reality of the treachery he had been subjected to, stranded in an underground maze filled with forgotten enchantments and dangerous traps. But amidst this darkness, the lamp he held was about to cast a light on his path, leading him on an adventure far greater than he could ever have imagined. Stranded within the depths of the Cave of Wonders, Aladdin was swept with a potent blend of fear and disbelief. The darkness of the cave seemed to press in on him from all sides, and the isolation was a palpable entity, chilling him to his core. The harsh reality of the sorcerer's betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow, leaving him feeling more alone than ever. Yet amidst the fear and desperation, Aladdin's spirit refused to break. He was a child of the streets, molded by adversity and hardship, his mettle tested and tempered over the years. Determination ignited within him, and he vowed not to meet his end in this subterranean prison. His thoughts turned to the strange ring he had discovered in the cave. Retrieving it from his pocket, he held it up to the flickering light of his dwindling torch. It was a simple piece, a band of silver inlaid with a small, seemingly ordinary gemstone. His fingers, smeared with dust and grime, rubbed against it in an effort to discern any special attributes it may possess. The moment Aladdin's fingers polished the surface of the gem, an extraordinary event unfolded. A brilliant, ethereal light filled the cave as a figure materialized from the ring. It was a lesser genie, bound by ancient magic to serve the bearer of the ring. The genie was a dazzling sight, a spectacle of swirling colors and raw, shimmering magic. Despite his initial shock, Aladdin's innate kindness took over as he greeted the genie with respect. The genie, in turn, bowed slightly, acknowledging his new master. With an air of wisdom and calm, the genie explained his purpose: to aid and serve the one who had summoned him. Overwhelmed yet hopeful, Aladdin expressed his desire to escape the dark confines of the cave and return to Agrabah. The genie, bound by his servitude, readily agreed. He gestured with his hands, creating a swirling vortex of magical energy. The energy enveloped Aladdin, and with a bright flash of light, they were both transported out of the cave. Just as swiftly as the darkness had consumed him, Aladdin found himself back under the starlit skies of Agrabah. The sudden change left him momentarily disoriented, but the sight of familiar buildings and the scent of home brought an immense sense of relief. He was free from the clutches of the cave, back on the sands of Agrabah, and in his hands he held not one but two objects of great power. With newfound hope and determination, Aladdin prepared to face the challenges that awaited him, unbeknownst to the fact that his journey was just beginning. Once safely back in the familiar confines of his humble home, Aladdin found himself drawn to the ancient lamp. Its unassuming appearance was a stark contrast to the danger and intrigue it had brought upon him. Sitting cross-legged on the worn carpet of his living room, Aladdin cradled the lamp, his fingers tracing the rough edges and weathered designs engraved on its brass surface. This seemingly ordinary object had lured a sorcerer from faraway lands, led to a treacherous betrayal, and almost cost Aladdin his life. Yet in his hands it felt weighty and warm, more like a relic from the past than a conduit of powerful magic. In an attempt to understand its true value, Aladdin began to polish the lamp. Using the corner of his worn tunic, he started to rub away the layers of accumulated grime and dust. What happened next was beyond his wildest imagination. With a sudden, thunderous boom that made the clay pots in his room rattle, a powerful genie emerged from the lamp. The genie's appearance was an explosive spectacle of vibrant colors, a whirl of magical energy that filled every corner of Aladdin's small home. The genie was of towering stature, his aura overwhelming, his presence commanding. Every element of the genie, from his swirling smoke-like lower half to his broad, muscular torso, radiated an unparalleled power. His eyes sparkled with millennia of wisdom, and his grin was as broad as it was infectious. This genie, far grander and more potent than the one summoned from the ring, was truly a sight to behold. Recovering from his shock, Aladdin gaped at the magnificent being now floating before him. The genie, seeing Aladdin's bewilderment, let out a hearty laugh that echoed around the room, making the corners of Aladdin's lips twitch upwards. Once the initial surprise subsided, the genie introduced himself as the genie of the lamp, bound by the ancient laws of magic to serve the one who held the lamp. To fulfill his servitude, he was to grant Aladdin 3 wishes, a power limited only by a few immutable laws. Aladdin listened, his mind spinning at the revelation. He was no longer just a street urchin. He was the master of a magical genie with the ability to grant him almost anything his heart desired. This encounter marked the beginning of a remarkable bond between the young man and the genie, one that would lead them through an unforgettable journey, fraught with trials, triumphs, and transformations. Emboldened by the extraordinary power he now possessed, Aladdin's thoughts drifted towards a life beyond his humble means. The mysterious genie, with his cosmic capabilities, held the potential to change his fate. Amidst the dreams that unfolded in Aladdin's mind, one image shone brighter than the rest: the beautiful Princess Badroulbadour. Her enchanting smile, her graceful demeanor, and the tender kindness in her eyes had ensnared Aladdin's heart from the moment he had glimpsed her in the bustling marketplace of Agrabah. Yet, in his current state, a penniless youth from the streets, he had no hope of winning her heart or the approval of her royal parents. A dream began to take form, a desire that consumed Aladdin's every waking moment. He wished to become someone of worth, someone who could stand tall in the royal court, someone worthy of the princess's love. With the genie by his side, this was no longer just a fleeting fantasy, but a potential reality. Summoning the courage to voice his deepest wish, Aladdin asked the genie to transform him into a prince. The words hung heavily in the air, loaded with the hope and trepidation of a young man daring to reach for a star beyond his grasp. The genie, his eyes twinkling with anticipation, nodded. A grin spread across his ethereal face, and with a dramatic wave of his massive hand, he proclaimed, "Your wish is my command, master." There was a moment of suspense, a silence that felt like the calm before a storm. Then, in a spectacle of cosmic energy and shimmering magic, Aladdin was engulfed in a whirl of radiant colors. The genie's power reshaped reality around Aladdin, bending the rules of existence, rewriting his destiny. When the light dimmed and the magical whirlwind subsided, Aladdin found himself changed. His humble attire was replaced by a grand prince's garb, made of the finest silk and adorned with glistening jewels. His simple home transformed into a splendid palace, its high domes and grand arches speaking of royal grandeur. The reflection that met Aladdin's eyes from a polished silver platter was that of a prince, a young, handsome man of noble bearing. This was Prince Ali, the personification of his wish, the embodiment of his dreams. Joy surged within Aladdin, his heart pounding with newfound confidence and anticipation. With the genie's aid, he had cast off the shackles of his old life. He was no longer just Aladdin, the boy from the streets, but Prince Ali, a royal suitor for the beautiful Princess Badroulbadour. The life he had longed for was now within his grasp, setting the stage for the next chapter of his incredible journey. Having been transformed into Prince Ali, Aladdin wasted no time in presenting himself to the royal court of Agrabah. His princely demeanor, combined with his genuine kindness and humility, won over the Sultan, who was charmed by the young prince's respect and wisdom. Yet, the true test was to win the heart of Princess Badroulbadour, the radiant jewel of Agrabah. In the beautiful princess, Aladdin found a kindred spirit, a soul as brave and kind as his own. Their bond grew, nurtured by shared laughter, stolen glances, and tender moments under the starlit skies of Agrabah. The princess, initially wary of yet another royal suitor, found herself drawn to Prince Ali's warmth and sincerity, the man beneath the royal veneer. However, while love blossomed in the heart of Agrabah, the eyes of envy watched from the shadows. The deceitful sorcerer, still driven by his insatiable greed for the enchanted lamp, had not strayed far. When he discovered Aladdin's transformation and newfound fortune, his fury knew no bounds. Fueled by his rage and jealousy, the sorcerer resorted to his dark arts once again. Using his cunning, he tricked one of Aladdin's new servants and obtained the enchanted lamp, which Aladdin had carelessly left unprotected. The sorcerer could hardly contain his glee as he held the lamp in his hands, feeling the hum of its boundless power. With the lamp in his possession, the sorcerer wasted no time in using its magic for his wicked intentions. He commanded the genie, who was compelled to obey his new master, to transport the magnificent palace and the unsuspecting Princess Badroulbadour to his own far-off land. As if caught in a terrible tempest, the palace shook violently. In an instant, it was uprooted from its foundations in Agrabah, the city Aladdin had come to love, and moved to the desolate, cold region of the sorcerer's domain. Within its confines, the princess looked on in horror as her home vanished, replaced by the foreign and hostile landscape of the sorcerer's land. The enormity of the situation dawned upon Aladdin as he discovered the theft of the enchanted lamp and the disappearance of his beloved princess. He stood amidst the confusion and chaos, his heart heavy with guilt and fear. But within him, the spark of courage that had once led him through the cave of wonders flickered to life once more. The sorcerer had struck again, but Aladdin was not ready to admit defeat. The fight, he knew, was far from over. Gripped by a fervent resolve, Aladdin knew he must embark on a mission to rescue his beloved princess and reclaim the enchanted lamp. He understood the magnitude of his task. The sorcerer was a formidable adversary, his powers enhanced by the possession of the lamp. However, Aladdin wasn't alone in his quest. The lesser genie of the ring, still bound by his promise to aid Aladdin, stood by his side. Calling upon the ring genie's magic, Aladdin journeyed through the vast stretches of desert and treacherous mountains, determined to reach the sorcerer's land. The journey was arduous, testing the limits of Aladdin's endurance. Yet the image of the beautiful princess trapped in the sorcerer's grasp and the stolen lamp filled him with a sense of purpose, driving him forward. Upon reaching the sorcerer's barren land, Aladdin was met with the intimidating sight of his palace, now distorted and bearing the ominous signature of its new master. His heart pounded in his chest, but he steeled himself for the confrontation that awaited him. The sorcerer, drunk on his newfound power, expected no threat from Aladdin, whom he deemed trapped in a life without magic. He had underestimated Aladdin's cunning and tenacity, a grave mistake that would prove his downfall. Through a series of clever deceptions and stratagems, Aladdin managed to distract the sorcerer, outwitting him at every turn. His street-smart wisdom, honed from years of surviving in Agrabah's rough streets, proved to be his greatest weapon. In a swift movement during their heated confrontation, Aladdin snatched the enchanted lamp from the sorcerer's clutches, breaking his control over the genie of the lamp. The powerful genie, once again in service to Aladdin, looked upon his master with gratitude. His previous master's orders had conflicted with his innate desire for goodness, and he was relieved to be free of the sorcerer's dark influence. Upon Aladdin's indirect suggestion, the genie seized the sorcerer, and with a snap of his fingers, he disposed of the wicked magician, banishing him to a realm where he could no longer wreak havoc. With the sorcerer's defeat, an air of tranquility descended upon the land. The palace was returned to its rightful place in Agrabah, its opulence shining brightly under the desert sun. The Princess Badroulbadour, freed from her captivity, rushed into Aladdin's arms, her relief and joy mirrored in her suitor's eyes. Aladdin's brave confrontation marked the end of the sorcerer's reign of terror. Peace was restored, not only in Agrabah, but also in Aladdin's heart. He had faced the darkest of forces and emerged victorious, proving that even without the title, he possessed the true spirit of a prince. In the aftermath of the epic battle with the sorcerer, life in the palace of Agrabah gradually returned to its usual rhythm. The chaos and fear of the sorcerer's reign became a memory, but the lessons it imparted remained, enriching Aladdin's understanding of his responsibilities and the true worth of the enchanted lamp. Despite the allure of having a genie at his command, Aladdin harbored no desire for more power or riches. Instead, his thoughts were filled with the genie's plight, an eternal existence bound to serve the master of the lamp, devoid of freedom. One day, in the solitude of his grand chamber, Aladdin made a decision. He summoned the genie for what would be his final command. The genie materialized in a burst of magical smoke, his eyes filled with curiosity at Aladdin's solemn demeanor. "Genie," Aladdin began, holding the lamp between them, "I've realized that no amount of wealth or power can compare to the value of freedom, so my final wish is for you to be free." The genie was taken aback. For centuries he had served countless masters, all of whom had used their wishes for their own gain. No one had ever expressed concern for his freedom. Touched by Aladdin's selflessness, he found himself choking up, moved by this display of genuine kindness. "With all my heart, master, I grant your wish," he declared. In a magical spectacle filled with glittering light and ethereal winds, the shackles of servitude that bound the genie disappeared. A newfound lightness filled his being as he tasted freedom for the first time. With joy and gratitude radiating from his eyes, the genie bade farewell to Aladdin, embarking on his journey to explore the world he had only witnessed through the wishes of others. Meanwhile, Aladdin's love story with Princess Badroulbadour reached a beautiful conclusion in their marriage. The celebrations were grand, filled with music and laughter, reflecting the joy and hope that filled Agrabah. Aladdin, the street urchin turned prince, alongside his beautiful wife, ruled Agrabah with wisdom beyond their years and kindness that warmed every heart. Their reign was marked by prosperity, justice, and equality, irrespective of wealth or social standing. And so ends the tale of Aladdin and the Enchanted Lamp, a story of bravery, wisdom, and the power of true love. Remember, my dear listener, as the desert sands shift with time, so do the tales we tell. But the wisdom they impart, much like the stars above, remain constant and true. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with the wonders of the Arabian Nights.